What's up, guys? Your girl Luki here, back with another video. And today I wanted to discuss my thoughts on the Dr. Disrespect situation. We are all aware of what happened at this point. He was accused of exchanging inappropriate messages with a minor on Twitch, and that's why he was banned, right? So there's been a lot of speculation back and forth since the allegation dropped. I am of the mind that when it comes to these kinds of allegations that are very serious in nature, that the best thing that you can do is wait for more information before making a definitive statement one way or another. Unfortunately, a lot of people on social media do not hold that same standard because they are grifters. They are grifters, and they are also they're not the sharpest tool in the toolbox, as they say. That's an old one, right? But I think it's best to wait for more information, discuss what we know so far, and then just wait for more information to drop. When more information is dropped, Dr. Disrespect has decided to post a response to the allegations. And the thing of it is, right, when it comes to his response, there's a lot of coded language in here. There's a lot of fluff in here, and it's to try and take away from the seriousness of what he's admitting to. You know what I'm saying? So there's several things that I made note of as I was reading through the commentary. But the first thing I want to make note of is that this was one of the worst ways to go about addressing these allegations, right? The tone that he takes on throughout this message is in the Dr. Disrespect persona, I believe. I've not watched any of his streams, so I'm making an assumption there. There's a lot of false bravado, right? That's being showcased through the text. And the thing of it is, I believe that this was the wrong approach to take, given how serious what he's admitting to is. Like, this is not you do not take a cavalier approach when it comes to these kinds of allegations and this kind of situation. You have to be. It requires a more delicate touch, in which a showcase of remorse is, honestly speaking, there's no real ideal way to go about admitting that you're a predator, which he doesn't admit he's a predator. He claims he's not, actually. But I want to discuss that as well, right? So he takes on like this brash persona when it comes to his perspective on what happened. And the thing of it is, when it comes to what he ended up saying is that this is language that you often see when it comes to um, people who've been caught doing things they're not supposed to do. Especially those who get caught speaking to minors and trying to meet up with minors. So you can go ahead and go through it. So yeah, he takes on a braggadocious tone, basically. But he states here, he's like, regarding the Twitch ban, I'd like to make a quick statement. Let's cut the fucking bullshit. As you know, there's no filter with me. So this is right here. This is the first bit of, well, this is actually a lie. This is a flat out lie, because throughout the length of the time he's had this post up, he has edited it 3 times. And the first time he put the post up. The second time he edited it to take out the word minor, which we'll get to in a bit. And the third time he put the word back in after he noticed that people obviously are going to notice. Like, I don't understand what it is when it comes to these very popular streamers. They don't seem to get that when you are in the public eye, and it is such a people are going to catch the slick shit you try to do, right? So there's no point in trying to do it. But again, I don't think he's fully taken in the seriousness of what he's admitting to, based on his tonality and throughout this, right? But yeah, so there's a lot of like mixed bits of tone throughout the message as well, in which he's like, I want to apologize to everyone around me. My thing is, it's always an apology when it comes to these kinds of situations. It's never a let me think about how my actions may affect those around me. No, it's never any of that. It's just they're thinking with one head and one head only, and the one that's down there, not the one up here. And maybe they are thinking with the one up here, but they're not forming any coherent thoughts, okay? Because the fact that it always baffles me that people don't think that they're going to be exposed, like eventually everything that is in the dark comes to light. We are all you can't just do something and just not just think it's like never going to come back to bite you in the ass, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, since this happened so long ago, it it is especially baffling to me that he hadn't properly prepped for the inevitability of this news coming out, because it always comes out. It may take, um, 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years. It may take several years for the information to come out, but eventually it will come out, and we've seen it with multiple celebrities. But of course, given that we don't know the exact, I mean, we know that it was sexual in nature, obviously, but we don't know exactly what was said. I wouldn't compare him to, the other multitude of predators that have been exposed, but he is still a predator. You know what I'm saying? So I will explain my reasoning in a moment, right? But yeah, he apologizes, which is, it's a bullshit apology, right? He's all like, "Oh, our team of incredibly," like, he didn't think about any of this. He didn't think about any of this before he decided to think with his little head. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, like, he said he wasn't allowed to say anything, and so the 2 employees came out and they publicly disclosed the accusations. He's like, "I can now tell you my side of the story regarding the ban." So it's like automatically saying my side of the story. It is trying to put him in a, it's trying to bring you more so to see his perspective, and it's all about perception, right? So he comes through, and this is where the tone shifts from, the false apologetic to, just trying to take on his Dr. Disrespect persona, right? But he's like, "Were there Twitch whisper messages with an individual minor back in 2017?" The answer is yes. Now, so this is the part where he took the word minor out multiple times, right? But yeah, he flat out admits that he was sending inappropriate messages with the minor, right? Were there real intentions behind these messages? The answer is absolutely not. So here's the thing: Dr. Disrespect is someone who is well known for cheating on his wife, right? So it's kind of like, it's baffling to me to think that he would be exchanging, messages that are of the sexual nature with someone without any real intent being there, given that he's a serial cheater, apparently, you know? And so I would also like to note that in 2017, that is also the same year that he admitted that he cheated on his wife. So that was around December, right? Apparently, he was angling to meet up with the minor during TwitchCon, which was in October of that same year. So, I don't know. It could be coincidence. I mean, again, he was doing a lot of cheating apparently. So. But anyway, so this is where the coded language comes in, where he said these were casual, mutual conversations. So he's trying to bring him and the minor more in line. And by that, I mean by saying that it was a casual conversation, so there was no real intent there, and also saying that it was mutual, it's bringing the responsibility to both of them, where it's like, okay, we were doing this together, we were engaging in this together. So it was, but that's the thing, right? When it comes to interacting with minors, the thing of it is that minors, children, so anyone under, honestly speaking, anyone under the age of, like, I would say 24 or so. There's still a lot of growing to do. Like, there's a lot of shift in mentalities that happen. Who you are at 17 is very, very different than who you are at 31. You know what I'm saying? Or who you are at 15, honestly, who you are at 13 is different than who you are at 17. You know what I'm saying? Who you are at 17 is typically different than who you are at 21. Who you are at 21 is different than who you are at 26, so on and so forth, right? So the thing of it is, we as adults have a responsibility, an inherent responsibility to steer the conversations into a more appropriate direction. We are aware, right? We are aware that it's wrong. And so it is our responsibility as adults to shift the conversation, or to, let who what like, say if a minor was approaching me in such a manner, it is my responsibility as an adult to shift the conversation to a more appropriate space, and to also let them know that that kind of language and behavior is not appropriate. It is, not wanted, right? Like, it's just not, like, you can't do stuff like that. And I would explain to them why, because for a lot of, like, again, I don't know how to say this, kids are just like, they're not, they don't have the same amount of life experience as older people do, as adults do, right? So their mentality, the reason why grooming occurs with, I mean, it can happen with any age, really, but grooming is more successful the younger the person is because they don't have that same life experience to realize what's happening to the same extent, right? So it is our responsibility as adults to not allow the conversations to veer into an inappropriate space if we are aware that we are talking to minors, right? Now, when it comes to the legality of this kind of this kind of thing, is that people are saying, well, why isn't he in jail? Why didn't they report him to the police? All this stuff. I don't know how to say this, but have you seen the reports of the people who get accused of this stuff and then what happens after the fact? Like, they are slap on the wrist. You know what I'm saying? Like, these, like, it is very, it's very difficult to get people on this unless they have explicit imagery in nature. You know what I'm saying? So, him, like, not being in jail or not being arrested like that, okay, like, especially, again, in a situation like this where there are messages being exchanged, even still, I would think that she would she would have to, press charges in a way, and considering he spoke of a settlement, at least on his end, and, it's just there's just so much that go into it. So just because someone hasn't been con just because someone hasn't been convicted of a crime doesn't mean they didn't do it. It just means they didn't get caught by the legal system, you know? So, but anyway, so he said these were casual, mutual conversations that sometimes lean too much in the direction of being inappropriate, but nothing more. So again, like coded language, right? Trying to just split the responsibility, right? Nothing illegal happened. No pictures were shared. No crimes were committed. I have never met the individual, right? So again, it's about intent, right? He intended to meet up with a minor. He doesn't mention that he intended to meet up with the minor. He only states I technically didn't break any laws. I would like to note, I believe that it is illegal to exchange inappropriate messages between you and a minor. I believe that's I believe that's the case, so but yeah, he continues with, I went through a lengthy arbitration regarding a civil dispute with Twitch, and that case was resolved by a settlement. Let me be clear, it was not a criminal case against me, and no criminal charges have ever been brought against me, right? So, from a moral standpoint, I'll absolutely take responsibility. I should have never entertained these conversations to begin with. That's on me. That's me on me as an adult, a husband, a father. It never should have happened. I get it. I'm not perfect, and I'll fucking own my shit. This was stupid. But again, I have a hard time. I have a hard time believing that just because he decided to edit the message multiple times to take out minor to try and lessen the severity of what he was admitting to, right? Which again, like, let's turn this on, baby boy. Let's turn this fucking on. Now here's the thing. I like again when 7 years ago, Dr. Disrespect is like in his 40s. I believe he's 42. So like 7 years ago, brother, you were well old enough to know better. You know what I'm saying? Like significantly old enough to know better, which is why whenever the conversation gets brought forth of people talk like old people talking about being in relationships with 18-year-olds, I'm like, yeah, technically speaking, it is legal, but morally speaking, you are reprehensible in my opinion. Especially the older you are. Like if you're 35 texting with like a 16, 17-year-old, no. You know? Or you're 35 texting with an 18-year-old, morally reprehensible, in my opinion, just because they're not old enough to know any better. Now, whenever this conversation gets brought up, people start like, oh, you guys are just jealous because men don't want you because you're old. Here's the thing, like when it comes to, it's a very interesting concept in my opinion, because I believe it stems from like it doesn't make a lot of sense, you know what I'm saying? In the sense that not everybody ages the same way, you know? And if it comes to like, oh, I want to have healthy children, etc., right? You could have had healthy children as you were growing up, right? You as you were growing up, you know what I'm saying? As you were in your 20s, you could have met somebody your own age y'all could have had some healthy children together, but you wanna go for younger people, and that's for a reason, because younger people are more easily manipulated. Their minds are malleable, right? They are, uh, influenced by outside forces, especially if they like you and respect you, and that's why people go for those who are younger than them, which it is predatory behavior, right? And so it's like, he's saying, "Oh, I take responsibility from a moral standpoint," but he really doesn't, right? So then he continues with this again, this bravado, this like he should have just cut this entire part, right? When it comes to people, and like again, I think it's very important to know. I would like to know the age of the person he was intending to meet up with, because I do think it says a lot that he hasn't said what the age is, right? But he goes forth, he's like, "I'm not a predator or, you know, a PDF file," right? The thing of it is, you may not be a pedo in the literal definition of the word, right? But you are a predator. If you, as a 35-year-old, are texting a minor and having a sexually explicit conversation with them, you are a predator. And I think when it comes to the people who are caught doing these things, is that they don't seem to realize or recognize it in themselves. They don't want to acknowledge the truth in themselves, and that they are sick. Like there's something wrong with them, which is why they have these feelings and emotions, and they choose to act on them. There's something wrong with them, inherently, right? But like there's a mental disconnect there, in which they often spend time projecting onto others be- the self-loathing that they feel for themselves. So I believe that he has a mental disconnect. I believe he is a hypocrite, and I believe that he is in denial about the reality of what he is, which is he is a predator, and that's just how it is. You know what I'm saying? He admitted to sending explicit messages, with exchanging them with a minor. It veered towards inappropriate, whatever the fuck that means, right? Which we know what it means, right? He's a predator, and it's a lot easier if people just acknowledge and admit this to themselves even, right? But yeah, he's like, like, "I'm disgusted by people like that," and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, again, it's like this self-hate sort of thing, and this it's also like this disconnect. Like they don't realize that there's something wrong with them. Or maybe they do realize it, but they just don't want to admit it. Because saying like, "Oh, this is disgusting. I'm disgusted by this," when you were doing it, like, come on, man, let's turn it on. Like, come on. You are a predator. It is what it is. So anyway, then he goes back to saying, "I love all my people," blah blah blah, like bullshit. Because again, like you didn't love them enough to think about how this would affect them when it came out, right? And then he's all like, "For all my haters that live and breathe social media with zero real life experience, I don't give a f about you." Which again, it's interesting, because the other day he was speaking in a very down tone about how he would like to take a break from social media because it's draining. He clearly cares about what other people think. Anybody who spends as much time interacting on social media as he has to, because it is his job, cares about what the people think. That's just, it is what it is. He is, again, projecting this false sense of bravado, which was the wrong approach to take to admitting this kind of thing, right? But yeah, he's like, "If you're uncomfortable, you think I'm a piece of shit, that's fine. I'm not going anywhere." It's that whole like, "Oh, I know I'm these things, but whatever, I'm still here." He's like, "I'm not going anywhere." As more information comes out, we'll see how true that statement is or not. He might have to, depending on how YouTube responds to this. Like, again, I think about the EDP situation. The EDP situation, very clear cut. So, like, YouTube had like more than enough evidence to get him the f out of here. But for this situation, I think we'll have to wait and see. He says they want me to disappear. Yeah, fucking right. So, again, I just think that this entire all of this is just really unfortunate. Again, like, this is when he edited the piece, and yeah, I mean, those are my thoughts on it. I just think that it's a very unfortunate. It's very unfortunate that this happened, and it's even more unfortunate that people don't take the time or care to wait for more information to come out. I think it is very dangerous to be so. I think it's very dangerous to be so vehement, right? like, one way or another. Like, if you don't have real proof that he did something, then I think you should wait for more information. But at the same time, if you don't have real proof that he didn't do something, I don't think you should be defending him because you never really know. And it does end up making you look like a fucking idiot at the end of the day. If you go out there and you are like vehemently defending someone who has these kinds of allegations and then they come out and say, "Oh, actually I did do that." You look like a fucking idiot. And I don't understand, like, people are addicted to L's or something, right? So it is what it is. I find this entire situation to be quite interesting. I'm very curious. I believe it's only a matter of time before more information comes out and we find out exactly what was said in these messages. Again, I'm very curious and I would like to know. I know that some people are like, it doesn't matter how old she is. I think it does matter how old she is. I think because minor has a very large range, and I think it matters, but anyway. Not that it takes away from it being bad. I'm just saying, like, I think it matters, but that's just my perspective on it. I mean, guys, what do you think on this? Sorry, long video, but I just had a lot to say on the matter. Very I feel strongly when it comes to these topics. They're very interesting to me. Okay. But yeah, what do you guys think? I'll catch you later. Peace.